Now, with that said, right, because I know we're going to talk about how someone can copy this idea and do it themselves. You don't need this like complicated layer of agents. You don't need to build all these skills from scratch. If you're starting out, you can literally take the transcript of your conversation with the client, give it to Claude, tell it to go find a couple off-the-shelf tools that meet their needs, and it'll do it just fine, right?
And then ask how to install those off-the-shelf tools, right?
Exactly.
Cool. This sounds interesting. Never heard of it. How do I do it?
Yeah,
like this.
Exactly. I mean, we still do that to this day. Like we built a pretty intricate setup to go and do this research, but sometimes it'll prescribe a tool for the client. And I'm like, that's never heard of that tool. Like, what does that do? So then I'll just ask Claude, explain it to me. Like, how would they actually implement this in practice so that I can get a good feel for what the tool does when I'm going into the follow-up call with the client, and I can confidently pitch it as a good solution to their problem.
Okay. So $1,000 from your friend. He's a busy mortgage broker. Are you able to show us what you provided to him? Was it generated by Claude?
Yeah. So this particular report, it's not generated by Claude. So what the agent does is it outputs a docx file. So basically just a Word doc file. And then we can upload that to, we use Gamma, which is essentially like an AI document and slideshow creation tool. So I'm happy to share my screen and show you assessment example, because this is going to be where a lot of the juice is, especially for anybody that wants to replicate this. And so just as a heads up for people too, right? So this template here that we've got in Gamma, if somebody wants this template, which they can literally download, upload themselves and start creating these assessments for themselves, they can go to audittemplate.ai and get a free, I'll just literally send you a free copy of this template here so you can start doing it.
Beautiful.
Yourself. And so
audittemplate.ai.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So inside Gamma, anytime we want to do a new assessment, we just upload the docx to the template and it just uses AI to generate it perfectly like this every time. So, I'll kind of run through each section at a high level. So we start off with an executive summary, which is just kind of reiterating the pain points that they mentioned during the conversation. This is the outcome that they could receive by implementing our suggestions, which in this case was 8 hours per week that they could reclaim from, I think it was only 4 or 5 tools that we recommended during this report. So again, I'm not going to go super deep. I'm just going to cover it at a high level. But the second slide here is what we call the effort versus impact matrix. So this is where we take every pain point that they gathered during the conversation. The AI will go and map on a matrix from effort versus impact. And so this report is designed to focus on what we call the quick wins, which are the pain points that are both low effort and high impact to implement, right? So like stuff that we can just literally install a tool and it fixes it. And then here, the recommended solutions, this is the meat of the report. So again, in this case, one of the pain points that they have is like, hey, we're having a lot of Zoom calls and Google Meets and meetings with our team, but it's like nothing ever comes from them. And I mean, Chris, to me and you, like the thought of not using a meeting co-pilot, like
note-taker.
Fathom, note-taker, like a Fathom or a Firefly is like, that's so foreign to me. But we got to remember that like 97% of people still aren't using these tools. So this was such a no-brainer recommendation. It's like, hey, well, use fathom.ai and it's going to automatically join your meetings. It's going to capture the transcripts. It's going to extract action items. And guess what? It's free, right? I use it and I'm on the free plan. I've never had to pay for it. Now, again, I'm not going to go through every one because I think you understand the concept, but the biggest one for this particular client, which to me, I was super proud of because this was a slam dunk use case. So this client they manage wedding venues, like wedding rental venues, right? And they've got kind of a portfolio of them. And they have a board of directors that they have to report to. And so this particular person runs operations. And every week, in fact, on Saturdays, she's having to take 2 hours a week on Saturdays to put together analytics reports for their marketing by hand because she's so busy during the week, she can't do it during the week. And so what we found is that she was going into Google Analytics, Meta Ads, Google Ads, all the different platforms, copying that information into a spreadsheet, and then taking the information from the spreadsheet and putting it into a PowerPoint. And we found a tool called Dash This, which literally isn't even an AI tool. It's just an off-the-shelf SaaS tool that plugs into those analytics tools and just puts the information into a dashboard. So it cuts out the PowerPoint and the Excel spreadsheet step. And it costs $42 a month, and it's going to save her 2 hours a week. This right here is going to save her 8 hours a month. Like, I think most business owners out there would trade $42 a month to get 8 hours back. Right. So these are the types of kind of like tools and recommendations that we're given to people here.
So when you generate this report, do you just send it to them, or do you hop on a call and walk through it with them?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying earlier. So we always send it to them in advance. So typical turnaround time is going to be within 48 hours. We send over your report. And then you'll see when we get to the bottom, there's a place for them to book a 30-minute follow-up call. So we give them the report beforehand for them to review. And then we jump on a follow-up call with them where, like I said earlier, I'm literally screen sharing my screen just like I am with you right now. And we're walking through it just like I am with you right now.
Okay, so $1,000 for this first one. Was your friend happy?
So we're charging $1,000 now. Actually, when I first started, we did the first 2 or 3 for free to get testimonials and to really work out the kinks of the whole process. After free, it was $200 an assessment. After 200, it was 500. And now we're charging 1,000. And the feedback all along the way at every price point is like, wow, I wish we would have known about these tools 6 months ago. This is great. What else can we do together? Which is, I'm sure what we'll get into shortly, all the upsell opportunities that come from this.
They're paying you to be upsold.
Exactly.
Right.
Because if you, and that's what we realized too, is that like, well, when we were charging $200, of course, like they got value out of it, but to the client, it was like, oh, it's $200. Like, how good can it be? Right. It was one of those like perceived value things of a $200 assessment. But now that we're charging $1,000, clients are they're just way more bought into, looking at it and paying attention to the suggestions. And we're taken a lot more seriously when it's time to discuss an upsell because they've already invested $1,000. Well, now we might as well, take this thing to the finish line and see what we can do next.
If you have a legitimate reason for charging them, say $3,500 for doing something bigger after this, it's a much harder, like a bigger jump to go from $200 to $3,500 than it is. So you're almost shooting yourself in the foot later on by being cheap early on. Like you just shoot yourself in both feet, so to speak, right?
Exactly.
Whereas if you charge $1,000, then like $3,500, it's still in the ballpark.
Right.
What's an example of a common upsell? So you charge $1,000, they pay it, you show them the audit. How much are you going to charge for what type of service?
Yeah, and I'll show you essentially our upsell menu. I'm happy to do that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and I just want to finish out kind of what's in the assessment here real quick too, just to kind of put a bow on it for people. So after we go through the recommendations, then we've got what we call a 4-day quick win plan, where we just try to make it super, super simple for people to implement what we suggested, right? Because a lot of times people get this and they're still overwhelmed. So it's like, hey, day 1, all you got to do, set up Fathom and connect it to your calendar. Done, right? So the quick win plan is designed to just bring it down to the ground level and make it super easy for them to implement. And then when it comes to upsell opportunities, that's what this section is all about. What comes after quick wins? So this is kind of where we're planting that seed in their mind of like, well, hey, this report gives you all the quick wins, but what's in this section, this stuff is a little bit of a heavier lift. So this is what the bulk of the conversation comes down to when we're talking about like, what can we do next, right? So in this case, we recognize that they're not using a CRM. This is a 7-figure business that is literally not using a CRM. So, hey, how about we set up a go high level CRM for you and connect it to your other tools, right? That's easily a $3,000 to $5,000 proposal, right?
So you might not know this, but this isn't my real channel. My full channel is linked below or right here. Go check that out for full episodes.